participation. And there was a comprehensive plan advisory committee that was composed of city, county representatives of all different sectors to really advise us in the preparation of the plan. Quickly, by the document itself, we've established 7 goals, 35 objectives. The goals are just the general guides of how you want the community to develop or grow and what you value as important, infrastructure, history, character, those types of things. There's 9 chapters, 35 objectives, and 6 basic elements of the plan, with land use being one of the most critical ones. We also recommended implementation. How do we make this plan work once it's adopted? And there's 144 recommendations long-term on how you would want your roads, your sewers, your water, preservation of your rural history and agricultural areas, parks and recreation. Those types of things will be put into action committees, and you will really guide the implementation of the plan itself. Franklin by the numbers. The future land use, there's about 7,000 acres planned for the area. 2,000 is within the city limits. In the peripheral areas, there's about 5,000. Those are areas adjacent to the city limits. And you can see the breakdown of that distribution. Residentials, commercial are still some of the largest areas, industrials, 1,800, mixed use, and agriculture. Then an overview of our growth areas. What we tried to do is break the city limits down into growth areas where we think the concentration of growth will occur. And there are 5 growth areas, primarily directional. The northern growth area there is shown in the green. Central is blue, then you can see the other 3 as well. And then we'll go into each one of those breakouts of those growth areas. Growth area 1, that northern area, gives you a breakout of what's proposed in terms of the land uses. You can see everything from low density to industrial. A total of about 1,800 acres is within that growth area. The central area, once again, that just shows the central growth area for the area, and low density residential was the largest land use for that area as well. The eastern growth area, that was primarily your commercial, industrial growth, about a total of 600 acres. That's a combination of existing and what's proposed. Then the same for growth area for the southern part of the county, or the city and the county, that breaks that out into primarily the principal industrial use of 1,200 acres. And all of this was done with the public's involvement and working with the advisory committee. In growth area 5, you can see the southwest part of it that breaks that down into the different land use categories. Franklin's never had a land use map. That's one of the difficult parts for the Planning Commission. I'm surprised that they were able to do their job without the land use map, because that's the heart of what the Planning Commission does when it comes to zoning, and zoning will be dictated or guided by land use. So that's why it's important to at least prepare a land use map that will help the Planning Commission in their implementation of their zoning ordinance and their subdivision regulation. The adoption is part of the comprehensive plan is under Kentucky Revised Statute 100, where the public hearing will be held by the Planning Commission. The next steps will be the Planning Commission will hold a public hearing. They'll review this information. Then local government will have the opportunity to review or approve primarily the goals and objectives, but we generally ask that the government approve the land use plan, the comprehensive plan as well. The elements required is a periodic amendment and readoption. Every 5 years, they would like the law says you need to go back and review this every 5 years, because we're trying to estimate what it's going to look like 20 years from now. And, I'd like to say we get it right, but that's why you have a provision, go back, review the plan, and adopt. You don't have to do a complete rewrite, but, look at your land use. Did we miss the mark? Is the population projection off? Then the Planning Commission would do a review and then come back and make any revisions and recommendations to the governing bodies. Some key dates that we want you to remember will be, we've done a presentation to the City Commission last Monday where the public came out and voiced their concerns and opinions and thoughts on the land use map primarily, and we heard that. Then today we're presenting to the Fiscal Court, and then there'll be a presentation to the Planning Commission of this same document this evening. And then we'll take all this information, what we've heard, and what comments we get from the different bodies, and have a advisory committee meeting and take their input and make any recommendations or revisions to what's presented. And then there will be a public hearing on May the 21st at the Planning Commission where they will take this under advisement and make their recommendations for adoption and moving forward. After the adoption, like I said, we suggested the establishment of the implementation committees. That will create task force that will oversee specific aspects of the plan itself. Allocation of resources and budgets as you do your fiscal programming and budgeting based on what the plan's recommending, then there will be some consideration for how you want to, it will help you guide your budgeting efforts. And then just the monitoring to make sure that the plan is doing what it was intended to do. Some of the key things that came out of the last public meeting was the biggest takeaway was adjustment to growth area 3. There is consensus among those participants was to remove the industrial area situated on the far east side of growth area 3. So that was probably the biggest concern that came out of that meeting. Revisions to some of our growth area calculation will have to be revised if any adoptions or revisions are made. There was a lot of discussion on the protection and the preservation of the agricultural rural heritage of Simpson County. They see that as what we heard at that meeting was that's critical to what makes this area so unique and special is the heritage, the culture, and the agricultural uses that are here. So they was stressing to preserve and protect that. Okay. Let me see. After adoption, community engagement is always something we want to continue that, keeping the community engaged and involved in this. Regular meetings or updates or keeping the decision makers informed if there's anything that's changing or that you would want to see done. Use your plan to help seek out grant funding opportunities. Traffic and transportation is always a critical piece. I know the Transportation Cabinet uses the plan as a guide when they're allocating some of their decisions on traffic and road improvement. And, celebrate your milestones, celebrate the success of what you've been able to accomplish. This is a pretty significant step for Franklin and Simpson County, and that's why we've been deliberative in how we approach this and taking our time. And I think that concludes our presentation, Judge.
Mr. Holmes, thank you. Gentlemen, do y'all have any questions for Mr. Holmes?
I got one. On the land you was talking about out there, are you gonna, if it's taken off as industry, are you gonna, will it be reclassified as residential or how would that, because that land's not gonna stay agriculture.
Right.
I mean, so how would you do that?
That's what we'll take up we'll do one more public hearing, and then based on what the public's recommendation, but that's a good point. It's agriculture at this point, and I think
right.
The plan initially recommended.
But it's still for sale, so,
yeah. Right.
I look for a developer probably to buy it next. So.
Yeah, and that's something I think we need to, in our next public meeting, to see if it's not going to be agriculture, what should it be? Do you want to remain agriculture or should it go residential? And then infrastructure is going to be another critical piece. Do you have the water, the sewer, the roads, the capacity to handle it? But that's a difficult decision that's going to have to be made. Mm-hmm. If not industrial, then what? Mm-hmm. Is it agriculture? Is it industrial? Is it commercial. But looking on what we use are land use guidelines, you still want something low dense. If you're going to go residential, then it should be a low dense residential type of use if they're wanting to designate
Right.
for something.
And one of the other comments I've seen out there is this is just inside the city limits, that's
Yeah.
6,900 acres, whatever. Maybe you should share that the total area of the county, which is what, 130,
Yes.
40, 20,
Yeah,
30,
we had that
40,000
in
acres.
the plan.
It's not like, I was seeing people saying, they're not leaving anything for agriculture. Well, there's a lot of area
It's
that is
predominantly-
still left for
Yeah,
agriculture.
it's predominantly agriculture. I mean, this is, I'd say, less than 10% of what we're talking about.
Right,
And,
right.
and that was what we heard was, the desire to be agriculture. It's predominantly agriculture. That's what you grew up on an agriculture base, and you're still a farming community. And within one of the chapters, we have a whole section on agriculture and agricultural use and what the number of acres are within that agricultural.
So I've got two questions. Number one, give us the date of that next public meeting again, please.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, the public hearing will be May 21st at the Planning Commission, and then the advisory committee, they haven't set their date yet. That's going to be between May the 1st and May the 10th, but the actual public hearing for the public will be on the 21st.
The 21st, and that'll be at the Planning and Zoning Commission
Yes.
gathering, which will be in that evening.
That evening.
Okay. And then this question may actually be more for Tammy, but the document that you have here with us, is this available on the city's website?
Yes, it is. So when I asked Pam, I'd like to leave a copy on the table downstairs.
Yeah,
that the
absolutely.
public can come in and view. And then with that, I'll leave, this is a paper, just has the QR code. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you directly to the draft plan on the website. And then an area where you could make public comment. You can comment on the website as well, or you can do paper copy and mail it or email it back to us at City Hall. So
Okay.
I'll leave those for public comments.
Perfect.
And Mason also left a timeline there. It's got all those dates on it, so that
Very good.
hopefully everybody knows.
And the timeline with all the dates is available on the city's website also?
It should be. I've not looked at it in a couple days, but if it's not, it will be. We've got a section for Franklin Forward on the website.
And then I think our number of contact is either, you can get it from the judge or Tammy and the city manager. If someone wants to reach out to us or have any other comments that they can't make, we'll be glad to take those noted comments and share them with the public when we have a meeting.
All right. And you said, as you started, Mr. Holmes, you said if anyone had a question for you, you'd be glad to speak with them out in the hallway?
Yes,
Or
if
talk
anyone-
about?
Yeah. If there's some particular area, site, or if you have your property in mind, then we'll be happy to, take them outside the house so we don't disrupt your proceedings here.
So, I mean, the thing I would do, encourage the folks that are here today and the folks that may be watching or whatever, if you have interest or concern or questions or comments, get on the city's website, scan the QR code, put in your comments, but come to that May 21st meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Holmes.
you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right, gentlemen, the minutes of our March 19th fiscal court meeting, I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any questions, concerns, changes? If none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, to approve first reading of fiscal year 23-24 budget ordinance number 220.256, amendment number 4. And so we'd need a motion and a second to approve that budget amendment. This is just, a lot of this is grant money that's coming in. You see a state grant for traffic safety, then money from the surplus sale. Actually, the miscellaneous revenues is another grant of money, the Sheriff CAECO grant.
So moved.
So we got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Marty. Any question or discussion? Pam, we'll do a roll call on the ordinance.
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Jeffrey Burr,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. I guess I should note, y'all see we've got 2 empty seats here today. Our council is out on spring break vacation. And, Magistrate Thurman is a little under the weather this morning. So let's hope he gets to feeling better. Next is to review and approve second reading and passage of ordinance number 230.32. These are the amendments that we've done to the administrative code over the past year. We had first reading at, I guess, the meeting before last, and this will be second reading and passage of those amended changes.
So moved.
Is that Jeffrey? All right, got a motion by Jeffrey and a second by Marty. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Oh, that's right, it's roll call, thank you.
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Scott Poston.
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes, thank you, Pam, I get ahead of myself sometimes. Keep it moving. The next 2 are not guarantees, but they're opportunities, is I guess the best way to say it. But we need to approve a resolution 2024-04-02 KOHS, which is Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, law enforcement grant application. This would be a grant to receive up to $10,000 for active shooter training for the Sheriff's Department. Now, there's no guarantee that we'll get the money, but there's a 100% guarantee we won't get the money if we don't apply for the grant. So we need a motion and a second to authorize this resolution and authorize the judge to sign it to pursue getting these funds for training funds for the Sheriff's Department.
So moved.
I heard Marty and
I'll
Scott.
second.
Yeah, I heard Marty made the motion, and I heard Scott after that. So we got a motion and a second. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And the next is kind of in the same vein, only it's for the fire department, but it'll be resolution number 2024-04-02 KOHS-FSFR, and this is equipment grant application. This application is actually asking for up to $350,000 in funding, or $358, I think, a little over $350. And Chief, did you say it was for breathing apparatuses, like like 43? And the unfortunate thing is, the chief was explaining to me yesterday, we have some of these devices currently that are, what was the term you used? Yeah, you're welcome to come up and share, because I think, I mean, it'd be good for the court to hear and probably the public to hear, but basically they're expired.
Yeah.
Expired stuff at the fire department.
So, we were informed about a month ago that one of the manufacturers of our breathing apparatus has applied to NIOSH to rescind their certification. So if that happens, then essentially we've been instructed you have to throw them away. You can't use them. Companies cannot service them. They can't test them. They can't do any of the things that we do on an annual basis to keep them in service. And that's very unfortunate. They're manufactured by Honeywell. Honeywell is obviously a big company, and they got the money to do that. So there's tentatively a date set for the end of December. So again, it's still pending some approval from a government agency, or somebody has to approve that. And that may get delayed a little, but they have assured us it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when. So there's a whole lot of departments that are just scrambling. I did apply for the FEMA grant, which we do every year. Sometimes I do apparatus or whatnot. I did apply, same deal. That's how I came up with those numbers, roughly $358,000, I think it was, to replace 43 breathing apparatus.
That's how many you have, 40,
Yeah, that's how many we
43.
got, plus 2 RIT packs. And furthermore on that, so the Honeywell ones that they are looking at rescinding, that's roughly half. The other half are a manufacturer, it used to be called ISI, but it's Avon now. They quit doing, they quit manufacturing for the fire service because the NFPA standards are so stringent now. They still manufacture for hazmat, military, all that. They quit doing the fire side of it. However, because they still exist, we can still maintain those and all. They're just, a lot of them are like 96 models. They're just older, and we kind of have those on the sub trucks. So potentially, we're looking at a pretty dire situation here that's just literally been thrown in our laps in the past month or so. So I'm hoping with these two grants, again, I mean, anything's better than nothing, that we can, get enough to cover. But if none of that pans out, then obviously we're going to have to.
How many of the 43?
There's 43 total, roughly half are the
Half is those,
Honeywells that
okay.
are going to be, that are just have to be thrown away.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's no way. They advised me, because I asked, against using them against, NOSH. They're like, well, that's a very direct conflict that you do not want to enter, personally liable, and, so keeping on using them is not an option once they pull the NOSH certification.
This is a perfect example why it's so hard to plan for
Yeah.
things in the future. Because here, this has just been thrown on us. And, or the state may throw some unfunded mandate on us or whatever, but
I mean,
it makes it really tough when you're sitting there
And,
trying to
I mean,
budget and do things.
Unfortunately, we are blessed, a lot of little, small volunteer departments that have these, they got nothing. I mean, they just have no revenue and so, yeah, it's,
So you're right, again, gentlemen, there's no guarantee we get this grant, but there's a 100% guarantee we don't get it if we don't apply. So we need a motion and a second to authorize entering into this resolution and authorizing the judge to sign it, and then keeping our fingers crossed and pray we at least get some of it.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Scott. Any other question, discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. The next item, gentlemen, we inadvertently, I guess, made the assumption on the appointments for the tourism that they were end-of-the-year appointments, and we just didn't catch it till after the fact. But we need to amend those dates. We approved those appointments through, I believe, December 31 of 2027, but the actual expiration date on those terms are 3/17/2027, and it's still the same three individuals. We just need a motion and a second to amend those.
Are we amending the March 5th motion? I don't know
Yeah.
if we make a motion now, we still got the other motion.
Yeah, so, let's do that cleanest, just to amend the motion from the March 5th meeting to reflect an expiration date on these appointments to 3/17 of 27, which is the actual expiration.
So moved.
So we got a motion by Marty and a second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? And sorry about the mix-up and confusion. It's just, I think maybe this could be the only board, maybe the Water District Board too, but the vast majority of the boards run calendar year and expire on December 31, and it just was a mix-up. All in favor, aye? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And then next is, we have to make an appointment to the Tax Appeals Board. I talked with the PVA about this, and she recommended that we would consider Mike Simpson to a 3-year term, which actually does run through 12/31 of 2026.
I saw that, yeah.
But that was the PVA's recommendation. I don't know that it's actually a state requirement, but they like people who have involvement in real estate and values of land to be on that tax appeals board. So when people go in and say, well, your land's not worth this much, then there's somebody that can say, well, here's what it's been selling for.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey to make this appointment.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then finally, it's the time of year to review and then approve our certificates of deposits and rates. You see that we have one general fund CD, a road fund CD, another general fund CD earmarked at the park, and then the county clerk permanent storage CD. You see what our current rates are. They range between 5.15 and 5.3, and then the treasurer reached out to everyone here locally that offers rates on CDs. It appears, according to this, that Franklin Bank and Trust is offering the best rate on all four of these CDs at 5.5%.
Now, do we need to do each one?
I'd
as a
say
separate-
to be safe, let's do each one individually. Pam, that won't cause you a great consternation, will it?
I mean, can we do it all as one?
Well, our legal counsel is in somewhere else, so just to be safe, we'll do them individually.
We don't want to call him.
Yeah, we don't want to call him and disturb him. He may not even be out of bed yet. But let's just do each one individually. So our general fund CD, we would need a motion and a second. My recommendation, and I think the treasurer's recommendation, would be to accept the best rate at 5.5% with Franklin Bank and Trust.
So moved.
Got a motion by Scott and a second by Marty. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. For the knowledge of the public, the rates that we have were 5.5, 4.55, and then one was a floating rate or a term rate, and I didn't make any sense out of this one because the shorter amount of time was the higher interest rate, but a 6, 8, and 12 month at 5.1, 4.9, and 4.6, and then another 12 month one with 5.15. So
They may be thinking that interest rates are going to fall.
yeah, they could be, but
I'll do
anyway,
it.
we're guaranteed on this at Franklin Bank for the 12-month period we're looking for at 5.5. And those rates that I just read are the same on every one of these as we look at them. We'll do them individually. Next would be a motion and a second. Pam, we did vote on that one, didn't we? I've been talking so much I can't remember. Okay, all right. Next is the road fund CD. The recommendation will be the same, to authorize placing that money in that CD with Franklin Bank at 5.5%.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Scott. I'm assuming there was no question, discussion before. I'm assuming the same here. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next would be to authorize moving the general fund CD earmarked for the park to the Franklin Bank CD at 5.5%.
So moved.
Got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then one of our newest accounts that we had to implement was a county clerk permanent storage, and we've got that money on the CD, and the same recommendation to authorize moving that CD to Franklin Bank and Trust at 5.5%.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, one item you've seen laying on your table this morning, and I apologize that this didn't get to the portal. But this is, if y'all recall back in January, we authorized a commitment letter to a hazard mitigation grant for $600,000 to do the safe room project out at the park, and it had a 13% match. And then after we were awarded that grant, we contracted with Arnold Engineering to do the first phase of the design work, and part of that first phase work was to secure architectural and site civil, architectural, structural design, and Arnold handled all of that. Well, the bid on that came back with Spur at $50,000. what we have to do is authorize or accept this bid so that we can turn this into the grant committee to move into phase 2, which would then bring us to the construction phase of the safe room.
This is the one at the park, right?
This is the one at the park,
Okay.
yes. So we just need a motion and a second to authorize this $50,000 bid on this site structural engineering work and submit it to the folks with the grant process to get moving on the phase 2 money disbursement so we can actually start construction on it.
So moved.
We got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second, I heard Jeffrey. And just so everyone knows too, none of this changes the 13% commitment. We're obligated, 13% of $600,000 is $78,000. That's the county's commitment, and some of that can be in-kind work too, if the road crew does any like digging or excavation work. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, budget transfers.
What about the cybersecurity?
We're gonna do that under Adam's report.
Okay.
I'm gonna let him talk about that because I wouldn't even know what to say.
Okay.
All I can say is here you see the cost, and based on the cost, I would recommend the Cisco, but I want him to explain. Did he leave? Hope he goes and gets him. Let's moving on to budget transfers. We need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And now bills and claims. We need a motion and a second to approve those bills and claims as presented.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Got a motion by Marty, a second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, moving on into reports. One, on your portal, I gave you a copy of the map of Simpson County and the water district. It was kind of concerning, honestly, to see how many areas are really not served. And the part I don't understand is we're not getting more of the grant money that's coming out of the state and the federal government to cover some of this either. I mean, I feel confident, I guess I should double check this, but I feel confident that the water district is pursuing those grants.
Ought to be.
I'm sure they're fully aware of them.
I just wonder their level, how their level of concern is on these roads, like that Craft Road we've talked about, and there's several of the roads on this map that people have put private lines in. And so the people have got the water. So if the people have already got the water there, do they go, well, they've got water, so we don't really need to be concerned about getting water mains put into these houses? I don't know, but I just wonder about that.
Yeah, maybe, but when this map was generated, because my request to the district was, we need to know which roads do not specifically have a main. I mean, although people are being served, there's still no main on the road.
Because I would have never guessed that for people listening, there were 68 roads in the county that do not have water mains. And I was floored when I seen that. But out of those 68, I guarantee, I would almost, there might be one that doesn't have, if there's one or two that doesn't have any houses on it, they wouldn't have a water main or water lines. But you know, like the roads that even doesn't have a water main, they still have water lines going to those houses that people have just put in a private line. So, but I think that'd make it tough to get the water mains put in.
Yeah.
Because the people have already got the money, or already got the water to their house.
And to clarify it too, and we'll be glad to, I mean, we can put this map on our website. Adam, we'll get it up there, because it is keyed, color keyed by number of houses on the road. Like there's some that don't have a main, but there's no houses. And then there's some with one or two. But there are, just at a quick glance, there are 1, 2, I see 3 immediately that jump out to me that have at least 5 or 6, and one that's 7 plus houses with no water main. So, yeah, we'll get this on the website, Adam, so that, the public can see it. It's public information. So hopefully I'll just encourage the district to let's pursue some more of these grants. And hopefully we can take care of some of this. It's
Maybe talk to some of the state lawmakers and figure out
yeah.
with the grants, how we get grants from them, but,
Yep. A couple other things real quick. Gentlemen, y'all seen, I went an email, because in our last meeting, the conversation was about when we could put the clerk's building out for bid. And they are on the docket with planning and zoning for April 16th meeting, I believe, for development plan review. And the architecture firm said their suggestion would be get through that development plan review with planning and zoning, so that if there was anything that had to be changed or altered after that, they could make those changes. And so we should be able to authorize putting it out to bid at our first meeting in May. And then just a note, I sent out, of course, having to get a copy of the jail budget, I sent out the proposed jail budget with some information. At the moment, the numbers don't look great. Part of this is we went from 200 or 205 state inmates down to budgeting for 170, and that's a big hit. There is a possibility of some revenue coming from Senate Bill 283. Now, I reached out to both Mike Wilson and Sean McPherson yesterday because it was a Senate bill. Mike indicated to me, Senator Wilson indicated to me that it passed through the Senate on a 37-0 vote. So it went out of the Senate with a unanimous vote. It has had 2, I don't remember whether they said 2 hearings or 2 readings in the House, but it will have to go through 3. But after the second one, it went to A&R, which is Appropriations and Revenue, and it's still sitting there at the moment. And if I understood Senator Wilson and Representative McPherson both correctly yesterday, there's only 2 more opportunities to pass that out of the House, which will be April 12th and April 15th. Now, here's the thing I don't know. Brent's here with us, he may know the answer to this, but even if the Senate bill passes, I don't know what kind of revenue that brings us. It will bring us some revenue, but I don't believe it's going to bring us $800,000. But is there any kind of idea of what kind of revenue it could generate if the bill passes?
Judge, we would have to see what the actual language is.
Yeah. This way, we're not trying to put you on the spot, but the general public can hear if they're listening.
I've been following that bill kind of close, so it would depend on what the actual language that comes out of it is. The language that's in there right now would require the state to negotiate with each county to get an amount for housing state inmates equivalent to the cost of housing state inmates plus 5%. So we're currently doing it for
$35, $34.
We're looking at probably $46 to $47. So there is some significant money there. Question is, will it come out of Appropriations Committee? Because that's going to be a hit on the state. So they're you know how the state is with.
Yeah, they don't want to turn loose of their money. They want us to be obligated to own it.
Right, and they're taking the turn right now to take a lot of things that were felonies and turn them to misdemeanors, so that money, that burden falls back on the counties.
Well, to put that in perspective, if we did get a $10 jump, because you're saying it could be up to $46, if we get just a $10 jump, which would be 35 to 45 on 170 inmates, which is what we're budgeting here, if it passes, the 170 equates to about $620,000 a year.
Yeah, that would be
Which-
sweet.
It would be much better than what it looks like at the moment.
It would be very sweet, but until they do their thing, we really, like we discussed, we don't have any
and
control
here's-
over them.
And here's the other thing too, and I'm not advocating for, nor am I advocating against. I'm just sharing you the information that I think is going to be generated out of Frankfurt. Is I think there is a big push to regionalize jails, and I think the state is highly in favor of that. And I think that this could be one of the things that would drive some counties to say, we're absolutely going to need to regionalize because we can't afford to operate.
I think that that's the whole point of this, sir.
Yeah, so,
And you know, when you said the 800,000, and I know all this isn't in the jailer's fault or your fault, but that's $800,000 increase from last year.
Yeah.
It's not $800,000 transfer in, it's $800,000 increase.
Right.
And I said it 5 or 6 years ago, and a lot of people got mad at me, and it wasn't a popular comment, but I'll say it again. If we get to the point where it costs $1.3 million to $1.5 million to house the inmates, and we can send them to another county for $1 million, that's something we'll have to look at. I mean, it's just a money thing. But maybe we need to figure on not even having state inmates. What does it cost us to do county inmates? And, I mean, because it seems to me we're losing money on them.
Well-
So, I mean, this is just some stuff that, before the budget comes in,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to look at every different avenue on it.
Yeah. And I usually do a budget just for county inmates to see what that would be, so we can look at that number, so we'll have an
What is our
opportunity.
number right now? About 75, 70, 75? County?
County inmates, today, this morning, we're at 58.
58?
Dang.
that ain't a bad number.
No.
But they cleared them out knowing we weren't gonna have court this week.
Oh,
Okay, so the judge isn't in this week, so we're not gonna have court, so she turned as many loose as she could so they wouldn't be sitting in jail.
I understand.
We're seeing that number float
Won't hurt.
between 75 and 100, and that does not count the ankle monitors and things like that. That's just people who are incarcerated inside the jail.
Which is why when you look at the jail budget, we're budgeting for 170 state, but on the food and all that, we use the number 270 because you don't want to budget for just 60 county inmates and end up having 90.
Right.
Because then that really gets you in a heck of a mess with your budget.
This is the worst. I've been doing the budget there 20 years. This is the worst one ever. And COVID was bad, but things have.
What has perpetuated the state pulling so many inmates?
There's a couple of things, Mason. I think that they're looking to try and push this idea of regionalization.
I think that's the number one thing.
I don't think they received the lawsuit well. I think this is a we're going to teach you moment.
What lawsuit are we talking?
Or KJA sued the state for not paying,
Okay.
across the state for not paying the real cost of housing state inmates. And some of the other parameters that go into that, like going back and paying for, it says for all purposes, and they don't go back and pay for the 2 years we held them, but they give them credit on their, okay, so that they push that burden off onto the counties as well. But I think those are your two driving forces.
Where are they sending the state inmates now?
They're pulling them in, and then they're having to have their probation and parole people and people from other prisons come work overtime because they don't have enough manpower to run their facilities.
Well, I don't know how that's cost effective for them.
It's not.
They're just proving a point.
It's proven a point.
Well, gentlemen, what I would say is we'll get some numbers together as we move into the entirety of the budget process. In the meantime, if you can, ring up our Representative McPherson and any other state representative that you may know and have contact info for, and tell them that if this thing can get out of the appropriation and revenue thing, they will pass it on the 12th or the 15th, because otherwise, it's going to be,
Bad for every county.
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I believe that's Senate Bill 283.
Senate Bill 283.
Okay, I appreciate your help on, I know you called them because I heard from them.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
I mean, all we can do is call.
Yep.
We can't go pull it out of the A&R for them and say, get on it, but,
Appreciate your help.
yeah. Okay, all right. Scott?
No, sir.
Jeffrey?
Need to be careful this evening for the storms.
Yeah, keep an
Keep an eye on
this
the
guy.
weather.
And I'm sure Bob will have plenty of updates going out on the emergency management Facebook page and so forth. Marty?
I don't have anything.
You didn't have anything else for the jail. Did you pretty much say what needed to be said?
Yes, we did get the program on the back of the budget.
Okay.
The 2-year budget.
Okay, good deal. Matt, anything on behalf of the sheriff's department? Chief, anything else for the fire department? Carter, planning and zoning? John, inspector's office? Bill, maintenance? Adam, I need you up here because we need to talk about the cybersecurity.
This won't take long.
It won't, I mean, if the numbers are what the numbers are and he says what I think he's going to say, I think it's an easy decision. But
Before we talk, we had that TV set up over there. If there's a way that, could we like, for the people sitting there, we could put our agenda on there and then do some stuff where they could, kind of, or if we have something coming up we're going to talk about and.
we could bring it up.
We can put it up there and that way people sitting out there could see it and we, because we're sitting here looking at it and they may be wondering, what are we talking about?
I don't know about the we part, but I'm saying he can.
Yes, it is doable.
Be nice
I
if it
didn't
was
know, I
just
mean,
sit on that
just
stand
for
and it's
more.
mounted up here where they
Yeah.
could see
I
it.
wonder if we can mount it.
Mounted up on the,
Well,
we'd have to have two TVs probably,
we
but
might want to think about having two, if we want to do that, because we could mount one that we could leave there on the wall, but we also need to have one that can be mobile to transport.
transport anywhere.
For,
I don't know if I just think it would be,
It was discussed, I think, on that aspect when we got this TV, and there was a reason for not mounting it other than cost, wasn't there, Bill?
Can't mount it on the front wall, we can mount it on some of the side walls, but there.
like right here.
We were trying.
Well, either one of
change some
these.
of the,
I don't know what you all think about that. What do you all-
probably this wall would be the better one, because the majority of the public that come in sits on that side. It'd probably be easier for them to see it to this side.
What about the cameras? Could the cameras sit, they're pointed more this way, ain't they?
Well, if there's a way that we can make it so that I could pull the same thing into the video
video,
switcher,
okay.
so if we
Okay.
did it, if we mounted something permanently, there's a way. Me and Bill can talk about it and get a game plan together if that's something you guys want to do.
I don't have an issue with it. If y'all think it's something beneficial to the public,
I don't know. It's just more transparent, same thing.
And they can see what we're seeing on our,
be reminded, it's always more money too.
yep,
I get that.
we see what budget does, I guess.
We'll wait and we'll talk about it then we go into, because we're right on top of budget stuff
Yeah.
anyway, so. But I have no issue with it. I mean, I don't know what's a TV that size cost now,
They're cheap,
$800?
if that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bigger TV. I think we got it at Sam's or something. So, yeah, I mean, that's a 75 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Fill us in on the cybersecurity, because if I'm reading this right, the Trenzio would be pretty costly compared to the Cisco.
Yeah, so Trenzio, and I put Bill just to give a full apples to apples. If we went with Trenzio, there's no way that it's cost effective to secure Bill's site. He's one person. But I put it on there to give an apples to apples comparison. But it was $28,000 basically a year to cover all of our sites that actually have users at them, which would include Public Works and Bill's office. And technically, Bill has two offices, but I only consider there's one that's the maintenance barn. And then Cisco, it's a software on a computer, so it covers them, like when Pam or Nicole or Michelle take their laptop home,
they're also secured at home. And it will give more transparency. It's $27,000 for 3 years, so it comes out to $9,000 a year. But because we're not that big, we don't hit the threshold that Cisco says of being able to do yearly billing. We have to do 3 years, basically up front. That's the only, I mean, no matter what, you're still paying the same, because you're gonna pay $28,000 for
Well, you're paying that money for 3 years versus the other money for 1.
year.
Yeah,
And I think Cisco is gonna give us more. Cisco is they're a name. Trinzio, and honestly, I mean, I've heard of Trinzio when they called and looked them up. I Googled them. I'm like, oh, they've been around for a little while. But when I talked to Cisco, I talked to Fortinet, which is another company. Nobody's heard of Trinzio. Maybe they're just saying that because, they're competitors, but,
Well, of course, that's what they're saying.
But
Now, will it cover ours also, our iPads, or will it just be the computers?
it can work on mobile devices too.
Well, they don't have to worry about getting anything off my iPad.
Well, I mean, that's why, but I just,
But I mean, the nice thing is Apple devices, I mean, I'm not saying they're not susceptible, but that's what I like about Apples is because they're more secure.
well, I was just thinking, that's looking at it at home,
Yeah.
looking at stuff at home, before court.
And the nice thing is you guys are accessing it off Microsoft, so that's already
Okay.
secure anyway.
Okay.
So I mean, that's the nice part of it.
And then this $2,000 is included.
So we pay for, I don't know if you remember last year, we did Avanti Endpoint, which is a VPN solution, and we have it covered for 10 users, 10 at a time, which, I mean, if, God forbid, nobody having to go work from home, a bunch of people, that would be okay for most of our users. But it basically knocks out that $2,000 annual that we have to pay for that because it has a VPN built in.
well, here's another question. At what point, because we've done the Trinzio trial,
I haven't, because I wanted to wait.
yeah, so at what point do we lose that, and at what point do we need to be ready with some type of cybersecurity in place?
April is when we have to, this month, I think at the end of this month.
By the end of the month.
End of the month, we have to send that box back.
Well, we cannot, I mean, here's the thing, I don't know anything about anything when it comes to cybersecurity stuff and digital stuff, other than we cannot not be covered and protected. We have to have some type of cybersecurity.
I mean, and I will say the device worked. I mean, it brought up points of like during the election, our cameras, because our Bill, at that point, we put Bill on the VPN so that he could see the cameras in his office. But we had the cameras exposed to the internet so Bill could look at them. And we saw hits from China during the election.
But the Cisco umbrella will catch the very same thing.
It'll catch the same thing. It'll actually do a little bit more because what we have now just catches and I get an email that, hey, blah, that will catch and block known issues and it will alert on questionable issues.
And it's a third of the cost.
Trinzio was a similar to what we've got. What we have right now is called Pisces. It's a free service, but the state cut their funding for it through Homeland Security. It was through the colleges, and then Trinzio was a competitor, similar solution to that. But of course, Pisces got their funding cut. Trinzio was just like 100%. That's exactly what we've got now. But it is.
Didn't you say that was $28,000 a year?
It's $28,000 a year, and then
And this is
Fiscal is
27?
For 3 years.
for 3 years.
You need a motion to do that?
Yeah, because, yeah, so we will need a motion, and it sounds like I have a willing suspect to make a motion to do the Cisco umbrella cybersecurity agreement.
Yes.
Okay, and part of that motion authorize the judge to sign any
Yes.
necessary documents to get the agreement.
Well, we gotta have it. If it's,
I mean, we
you
gotta-
think it's as
I
good
mean,
as...
I think it's honestly better than what we've got, because previously, if somebody went from home, I mean, they're protected through antivirus and stuff like that, but they did not take the same protection that they've got here home with them. Like, so when Nicole's working from the beach this week, or wherever she is,
She's down in the office right now.
well, I know she's down in the office, but when she's working from
She's at
the
the beach.
mountains,
She got there in a hurry because she was down there about an hour.
she's not as protected as she is here right now.
All right, so we got a motion by Scott to move forward with the Cisco umbrella cybersecurity agreement, which is a 3-year agreement at $27,000 for the 3-year period and authorize the judge to sign
sir.
whatever documents are
Right.
necessary to effectuate the agreement.
I'll second that.
Got a second by Marty. Any
Even though
other?
I really hate to vote on something, I have no idea
Well,
about this. but
yeah.
Just
I'm-
think of an umbrella, it's like the
I'm
rain.
glad he
protecting
does.
you from the rain.
I'm taking your word for it, Adam.
That's right.
It is
That's what we're
really,
paying for.
it is really scary to think about the things that could happen through the cyber universe that, I mean, I'm going to say the vast majority of the American population has no idea what we're even talking about. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it was brought up, the sheriff's office was talking to me about, they've had people that have gotten personally on Microsoft scams. And and I'll sort of say that for any of the public, when you get links that have numbers to call and it's making a funny noise on your computer, maybe think about calling that number before, actually go and find Microsofts.com and find their support number. Because there's been people in our community that have gotten hit for substantial amount of money, and nobody's going to ask you to pay for cyber services and Bitcoin or Walmart, Amazon gift cards.
And I would encourage all county employees, I know some are sitting here, hopefully, if you have those in your office, so like Chief, Matt, Brent, if y'all don't mind to mention this back to employees in each of y'all's departments, I would encourage you to do this. I got an email yesterday, and it seemed weird to me because it had something about barefoot sitting, and it was in relation to the Simpson County school system. And I'm thinking, number one, why am I getting an email about the Simpson County school system? And this whole barefoot thing just seemed weird. So rather than open any link or click on anything, I just forwarded the message to Adam and said, hey, take a look at this. Is this legit? Because if you get something that just looks unusual, please don't click links. Please get it checked before we click links, because I do understand enough to know that those links is how they grab you, right?
Yeah, and we did a sort of a test a while back, and I had Michelle send out a fake email to everybody, and a lot of people actually called Michelle and said, hey, did you send this? It was like a payroll something, I forgot what it was, and some people did click it, but it was a learning experience. But a lot of people called Michelle, I think, and said, hey, so they did the right thing. They either emailed Michelle or they called her and said, hey, what's up with this?
Yeah. So I encourage y'all to do that. All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And we've been through all the department heads. I do need a motion and a second to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph, I can't read my own writing. Paragraph C, discussion of proposed or pending litigations against or on behalf of the public agency.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. All in favor, aye. We'll take like a 5-minute break and we'll meet across the hallway.